January 19th. City Council meeting, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Matt, will you just start us off with the roll call, please?
Councilor Hickerson. Here. West.
Here.
Batolo. Here. Halter.
Here.
Zadi.
Here.
Demus.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Savage.
Here.
Mayor Como.
Here.
Kind of hot.
Councilors, first order of business, we have the approval of the minutes from special city council meeting January 4th, 2021, and the city council meeting minutes of January 5th, 2021. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
We do have a motion, we do have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
That you?
Let's hope we don't have any. We have a new amplifier in the council chamber, so we'll see how that goes. This is going to take us on to our bid openings for the 2021 uniform bids. We have one bidder, American Linen, out of Ogden, Utah. Seems like we lost some room up here somehow. Okay, with the uniform bids, there is no bid bond required. And total weekly bid, $438.44. $438.44. Turn this bid over to Department of Engineering and Public Works for review and a recommendation back to the council. This won't fit in that envelope. Okay, this is going to bring us on to the appointments section of our agenda. Mr. President, members of the council, I submit the name of Kevin Hardesty to serve first term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Council, you have before you the name Kevin Hardesty to serve his first term on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilor West.
Yes.
Batolo.
Yes.
Halter.
Yes.
Zadi.
Yes.
Demus.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Hickerson.
Yes.
Your Honor, you have your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Mr. President, I submit the name of Jack Adams to serve second term Police Civil Service Commission.
Council, you have before you the name Jack Adams to serve as his second term on the Police Civil Service Commission. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Councilor Batolo.
Yes.
Halter.
Yes.
Zadi.
Yes.
Demus.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Hickerson.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
And Mayor, you have your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the council. This is going to bring us to our proclamations and our presentations and proclamations. And we have with us Crystal Martin. Crystal? With Sweetwater Against Trafficking. You want to come down first and tell us a little about what you do, and then we're going to offer a proclamation afterwards. Hello. Is that microphone on?
Okay. Hello. My name is Crystal Martin, and I am the founder and executive director of Sweetwater Against Trafficking. We are now going on our third year of running the nonprofit organization. We are all volunteer-based, and we are bringing awareness to Southwest Wyoming through prevention education and awareness, as well as trainings to professionals. This year, in 2021, we are focusing on the hospitality industry because of how anonymous the hospitality industry can be. Sorry, this is really hard to talk through.
Yeah, it is.
So we are working on a number of trainings throughout the year to work with the hospitality industry to be able to identify human trafficking and report suspected cases. We are also doing that in Uintah County and Fremont County as well. One of the things that we have noticed is that Wyoming has fallen behind on a lot of the updated trainings for our law enforcement, for our attorneys, and we also have limited legislation on the issue of human trafficking. So Sweetwater Against Trafficking and Uprising up in Sheridan are collaborating together to bring awareness and coordinated trainings throughout the state of Wyoming, as well as working with our legislators in order to provide state laws to be able to prosecute not only the traffickers, but the buyers as well.
You know, this is something that, you just don't think takes place in your community, but it's out there. And very concerning. So we appreciate what you do. And counselors, do you have any questions?
I've actually have some questions.
Councilor
Crystal,
Zall?
we've had an opportunity to talk a few times in the past, and one of the last times we talked, maybe a year or so ago, you had talked about the training that you do, and you'll go to hotels, motels, restaurants, truck stops, gas stations, places where people may stop, like along the interstate for a break, and where trafficking occurs. You had mentioned before that, and it really shocked me, that there are businesses out there that don't want the training because they don't want to be involved because they fear of potential liability, or they just don't want to be involved.
Right.
Do you see that changing at all? Are people becoming more aware, or is there still a resistance there?
So we are still seeing a slight resistance. A lot of people think that in rural Wyoming, we don't have this issue. Unfortunately, we are trying to identify a lot of labor trafficking, and we have a person that works on the state task force that actually works to try and identify the labor trafficking due to the agricultural industry and the amount of come-and-go workers. We also are trying to identify familial trafficking. So by bringing awareness and training individuals not only in the community, but also in, professional places, we are able to hopefully help identify that familial trafficking. The hospitality industry has actually opened up quite a bit, because there are federal laws that mandate that if there is a trafficking victim that goes across the state lines, it can be federally prosecuted for anybody that profits off of the victimization of a human trafficking victim. So it could either be legally or civilly brought upon them.
it surprises me with I-80 coming through the state, that there's so much hesitation or thought that that doesn't happen here.
Right.
It's such a heavily traveled roadway. It may not occur there, but they're coming through.
Right.
Yeah.
And they are, and we're right on 191.
Right.
And then in Laramie, we have 287, and then in Cheyenne, we have I-25. So we have some major highways and interstates that run right through Wyoming that make it very easy to transport a human trafficking victim. We have had several reports where hotels have had to identify a human trafficking possible case because we deliver soaps with the human trafficking hotline, and it's a label on the back of the soaps that helps them know that people are waiting to help. And so one of the hotels actually locally was able to make a report, and they were able to find a human trafficking survivor in another state over. And it was based off of the training that we were able to provide for that hospitality business.
Well, that's great.
One more thing, and just, it could be a simple, recently, this wasn't really human trafficking, but it was an abuse situation. I believe it was in a restaurant or something, somewhere national, I just saw in the news. And there was a manager who was aware enough to at least just ask the question of this child, do you need help? Simple question, and answered yes, and then found out that this kid was being severely abused. And I think if people realize, if you see something, don't ignore it. It can be just a simple question sometimes, and that's all it takes, so.
It can, but if we don't know how to, if our law enforcement or if individuals do not know how to approach the situation, then people can get in harm's way quite a bit. We have to train on do not approach a trafficker, because not only does it put them in danger, but it puts the victim in
Yeah.
danger.
Right. Any other questions, council? Comments? Well, Crystal, we appreciate what you do, and we have a proclamation from the city of Rock Springs we'd like to read if we could. And that proclamation reads, whereas human trafficking is a nationwide public health and civil rights crisis that includes both labor and sex trafficking. Its victims and survivors are everywhere, with Wyoming being no exception. And anyone can become a victim of trafficking. Victims, survivors come from every background, race, gender, sexual orientation, and economic status. Traffickers target individuals who, for any reason, are vulnerable, and young people are particularly vulnerable to trafficking and exploitation. We recognize our duty to provide prevention education to this population, their parents, and their caregivers. And awareness of this crime is growing. Human trafficking continues to go unreported due to its isolating nature. There is a misunderstanding of its definition and the lack of awareness about its indicators. And Sweetwater County joins the statewide Human Trafficking Task Force, Sweetwater Against Trafficking, uprising, and our community partners in providing awareness, training, prevention, education, and outreach. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Timothy A. Como, Mayor of the City of Rock Springs, do hereby declare January 2021 to be Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month in Rock Springs, Wyoming. And I encourage all of our citizens to become more informed on this growing problem, to be vigilant and report suspicious activity, to work towards solutions and end human trafficking, and to start the conversations about human trafficking and exploitation in all of its forms in our communities. If you see something that does not look right, take action and call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888. Thanks for what you do. We appreciate that. Okay, thanks again for that, Crystal. And this is going to bring us to the petitions section of our agenda. Is there anyone here tonight wishing to address the council on any issue whatsoever? This would be your time to do so. Hearing none, we'll close the petition section of our agenda and move on to the officers and staff reports. Councilors, we have item number 1, the Health Insurance Fund recap for December 2020, and 2, the financial report summary for December 2020. I'd entertain a motion to approve the officers and staff reports and place on file.
Your Honor,
Councilman Batolo.
so moved.
We do have a motion to approve the officers and staff reports. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, council committee and board reports, councilors. Item number 1, the Rock Springs Historical Museum meeting minutes of December 9th, 2020. And 2, the Main Street Board meeting minutes of December 14th, 2020. Councilors, I'd also entertain a motion to approve the council committee and board reports and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's going to bring us on to the bills and claims, councilors. Item number 1 is the bills and claims for January 19th, 2020.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus.
I make a motion to approve the bills and claims for January 19th, 2021.
We do have a motion to approve the bills and claims for January 19th, 2021. And do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Let the record show. And item number 2, the salaries for January 7th, 2021.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus.
I make a motion to approve the salaries for January 7th, 2021.
We have a motion to approve the salaries for January 7th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, councilors, this is going to bring us down to the new business items on our agenda. Item number 1, the request from the Engineering and Operations and Public Services Department for permission to bid the 2021 sanitary sewer maintenance project. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd move to approve that request.
We do have a motion to honor this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And item number 2, the request from the Engineering Operations and Public Services Department for permission to bid the Bitter Creek Restoration Project, Segment 1. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Batolo.
so moved.
Do you have a motion to approve? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 3, the request from the Engineering Operations and Public Services Department for permission to fill a vacant collection system worker 1 position at the Water Reclamation Facility. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman?
may I ask a couple of questions
Yes,
about that?
Councilman
Mr. Council,
Robinson.
on this position, that became vacant on the 16th, is that correct? It looks like it.
Your Honor, Counselor Robinson, I believe it was around the 16th. We had a mechanics position that had opened up through retirement, and we promoted or moved somebody within, and this opened up a collections position.
Okay. I guess my question is this. We're going to be talking a little bit about the early retirement plan coming up a little bit later tonight. And I think it's a fine line between making sure that services provided to the constituents and we are also kind of financially responsible. Is there going to be any negative impact to that position or what that position would fulfill if we postpone that for a little bit of time until we figure out exactly what we're looking at with the early retirement plan? How many positions we may lose and where other positions may come from?
Well, Counselor Robinson, one, the collections department is a small staff. They only have 3 collections workers and 1 supervisor, pretreatment collection supervisor, to essentially maintain the whole system of the city of Rock Springs. That's flushing, videoing, taking service calls, the whole works. Yes, it would put an impact on the services that they provide. Another thing, this is an enterprise account. It is not paid through the general fund. This is paid through sewer rates.
Okay, that cleared some things up. Thank you. Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Councilman, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor.
Councilman Halter,
Move to approve that request.
we do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 4, the request from the Fraternal Order of the Eagles, Area 151 for road closure on August 21st, 2021, from noon to midnight for their 3rd annual street dance on B Street from 2nd Street to Broadway. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd move to approve that request.
We do have a motion to approve that request. We have a second.
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, councilors, it's going to bring us down to the resolution section of our agenda, and we have Resolution 2021-10.
A resolution authorizing and directing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to accept and approve a budget revision to the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve Resolution 2021-10.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-10. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 2, Resolution 2021-11.
A resolution authorizing and directing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to accept and approve a budget revision to the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Savage?
I move to approve Resolution 2021-11, fire assistance reimbursement.
Councilors, we do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-11. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 3, Resolution 2021-12.
A resolution authorizing and directing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to accept and approve a budget revision to the budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Zadi?
when I first read this, I thought my glasses were fogged up. I saw the word revenues. So I read it again, and I'll happily move to approve that resolution.
We do have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. Roll call.
Counselor Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 4, Resolution 2021-13.
A resolution accepting and approving an early retirement incentive program for city employees.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Savage?
I don't know if we want to discuss this first, but I'd like to move to amend Resolution 2021-13, Section 5, changing program shall end on June 30th, 2021 to program shall end on March 31st, 2021.
Councilors, we have a proposed amendment to Section 5 to read, The opportunities for employees to participate in early retirement incentive program shall end on March 31st, 2021, instead of June 30th,
Correct.
2021.
Your Honor?
Councilman Zadi?
I've got I guess another proposal that might interfere with that date potentially, if we have to have time to think about this. So I was wondering if we could discuss this first before we put
Sure.
that amendment to vote.
Discussion.
Well, I was asked, and we just briefly talked about this with Matt before the meeting, but contributing that $25,000 that we're looking at would go directly to an account to pay for insurance premiums. There have been questions of whether or not we can allow for that $25,000 to be put into an HSA account, which would still be used solely for medical expenditures, approved medical expenditures. And what are the thoughts with council on that? There are some issues we'd have right up front, is that full 25 could not be just sent into an HSA account because there are limitations on a yearly contribution of, say, $7,000, I think you said, Matt, or something around there. So the question would come, if we hold this $25,000 in account for premiums and we're paying the premium off on there, and then an employee calls beginning of next year and says, hey, I'd like to move $5,000 of that balance into my HSA account, can we allow that to happen? And then what would the burden be on staffing to manage all that, I guess, would be questions that I have.
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Knott?
Councilor Zadi will do as directed by council, and will administer it. I mean, it does make it a little more difficult, I would think, just off the top of my head. If we had a lot of participation, but we would do it if that's what we were directed to do.
May I interject for just a moment? I'm sorry, Mayor, councilors, I think this will be, this is really not treated as a cash asset that, or an accrued benefit that the employee can do with as they please. It essentially just goes into this account and then they can't move it out of there. One of the reasons it isn't going to go into the HSA, aside from the ones that you already mentioned, was I think that there would be some tax ramifications from that are not associated with our paying the benefit out of an account for them. But I don't think they can just simply move it out and then move it into the HSA.
So once it's in there, it's pretty much there, and, okay,
It's-
thank you.
It's there, and then it sits there until that individual expends those dollars. Maybe, Lord forbid, passes away or changes to another plan, and then those funds actually would, any remaining funds would stay in that account. So I guess that was the other
That is
discussion,
correct.
so that
That's
makes
correct, Your
sense.
Honor. It just stays with the city, and it doesn't get cashed out in any way. You can never cash it out.
So,
But that is not to say, though, that those options are not available to the city council if they feel that there are some additional incentives that they may or may not want to offer to retirees. Obviously, you're not just limited to this, but the way this is set up.
mhm. Well, I think it's a good idea to have these discussions to see if there are any opportunities for that. But any other comments, not on the date, but on the $25,000 in the account?
Not on that, I do have a
Councilman West?
separate comment, though. I mean, the whole purpose of this is to try and cut costs and, prevent having to have any type of a layoff or things of that nature. And I think it's important that we don't just offer this and then refill the positions. And in the resolution, it kind of alludes to that. However, I think it ultimately comes down to the mayor and the individual department head to have the final say on whether or not they want to, accept the application or not. But, in some circumstances, in some departments, there might be a little bit of, what if a supervisor takes advantage? What if a department head takes advantage? Some of those positions might be refilled, but, whether you have someone that's making $50,000 and you hire it back at $25,000, although that's cheaper, the amount of benefits and everything that go into that is still, where the money is made up. So is it really that big of a savings? Probably not. So I think the key here is we need to cut costs, not reduce costs. And, you might have some shifting within those individual departments, but ultimately the goal is to eliminate a position to save, the bottom line. So maybe you refill, promote within on the supervisor level and don't hire a technician one or whatever the case might be. So I don't know if this language sets it up for that. I guess it does based off of the mayor and the department head having the final say, but I just think that's important to note. I mean, we're trying to accomplish through attrition, not just by, an early retirement that then is just turned around and refilled. So, and I think that's to Councilor Savage's point, by trying to bump this up to March rather than June for some additional savings there, especially since we're paying $25,000 up front. So I don't know if anyone else feels differently about that, but I just want to reiterate that, we're trying to accomplish getting by with less.
May I make a comment?
Mr. Beckwith?
Councilor West, one of the other options that's available to the city is to reclassify some of those positions. We may not necessarily have to refill that position. It could be reclassified, redefined, and come in at a lower pay range. So that's another possibility as well.
Councilman West, I think you're exactly correct. The ultimate intent is to find ways through attrition that we can do more with less, if that's a possibility. And I believe right now we're back to our original amendment of Section 5, amending the incentive program end date to March 31st and taking out the June 30th, 2021 date.
Correct.
Do we have a second on the amendment?
Second.
Roll call on the amendment.
Counselor Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Counselors, that leads us back to the resolution 2021-13 as amended, with the March 31st, 2021 deadline. I'd entertain a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Okay, this is going to move us on to Resolution 2021-14.
A resolution accepting and approving a master services agreement between the City of Rock Springs and Life Safety Inspection Vault LLC, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk to execute said agreement on behalf of the City of Rock Springs.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Vitolo?
I move to accept 2021-14.
We have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-14. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Councilors, this is going to bring us to our ordinance section. We have two ordinances, one on third reading. Ordinance 2020-10, third reading.
An ordinance amending Article 4.4 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, entitled Cemetery, whereas the governing body of the City of Rock Springs desires to amend Article 4.4 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs entitled Cemetery to allow the City of Rock Springs to buy back cemetery lots previously sold.
Councilors, third reading. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve ordinance 2020-10.
We have a motion to approve ordinance 2020-10. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor West,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 2, ordinance 2021-01, first reading.
An ordinance amending Article 7-1 entitled Building Code of the Ordinances of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming.
Councilors, with no further business to come before this governing body, this meeting is adjourned.